Look, sometimes the most gangster thing you can do is sit down, breathe, and chill for a minute. We grew up in a world that told us don't stop, that if you slow down, somebody gonna pass you, somebody gonna take your spot, somebody gonna outwork you. But nobody told us the truth. You can't pour from an empty tank. You can't run a marathon if you never catch your breath. You can't build an empire if your mind, body, and spirit are breaking down from the weight of your grind. I had to learn this myself. When I was recording Crenshaw, there were moments where I was running off no sleep, no breaks, no clear head, and I realized my creativity was slowing down, my decisions weren't sharp, my energy wasn't clean. Not because I wasn't committed, but because I wasn't rested. That's when it hit me. Rest ain't weakness, it's strategy. Rest ain't quitting, it's alignment. Rest ain't luxury, it's a weapon. And today, I'm gonna break down the 5 truths about the secret power of rest that the hustle culture never told you. You ever wake up after a real night of sleep and realize half the things you were stressing about don't even hit the same anymore? It's like your mind went in overnight and cleaned house, reorganized the whole spot, threw out the trash, and left everything feeling lighter. And that's not just some motivational talk. Science literally proves it. Your brain repairs itself while you rest. It reorganizes your thoughts, cleans out the emotional buildup, releases the stress your body held on to, and resets your focus so you can actually think straight. Rest ain't just sleep. It's restoration, it's alignment. It's your mind taking care of you while you finally give it permission to. But the world we grew up in didn't teach us that. It taught us grind, grind, grind. If you stop, somebody else gone past you. If you rest, you weak. If you slow down, you ain't hungry enough. And because of that mindset, a lot of people end up running harder but thinking worse. They give more effort but make poorer choices. They take more action but move in circles instead of direction. What they never told you is that effort without clarity is just noise. Effort without clarity is wasted energy. That's why rest is not the opposite of hustle. Rest is the foundation of sharp hustle. Think about elite athletes, the ones the whole world calls champions. They don't train 24 hours a day. They don't push their bodies nonstop until they fall apart. They don't operate off 4 hours of sleep and call it ambition. Their coaches schedule recovery days, ice baths, massages, meditation, long hours of sleep, because they know the body doesn't grow while it's working, it grows while it's resting. Progress happens in the pause, not the pressure. And your mind, your spirit, your ambition, they're built the same way. You can push yourself for only so long before everything starts slowing down. Your creativity, your decision making, your discipline, your patience. Without rest, even your blessings start feeling like burdens. You ever sit in front of a problem for hours and feel stuck, then take a nap or walk away, and suddenly the answer hits you out of nowhere? That's clarity. That's your mind finally getting the space to breathe. Sometimes the breakthrough you're sweating for isn't hiding in one more late night or one more grind session. It's hiding in calm. It's hiding in silence. It's hiding in that moment where you step back and let your soul catch up with everything your body is doing. People underestimate how much bad decisions come from exhaustion. How many relationships got ruined by a tired mind? How many opportunities got missed because stress made someone blind? How many dreams died because burnout made a person doubt themselves instead of doubt their pace? Rest isn't weakness. Rest is wisdom. When you rest, you're not stepping back. You're sharpening your blade. You're tuning your frequency. You're making sure the next move you make is the right one, not just the rushed one. I've seen people hustle themselves into sickness, into depression, into anxiety, into losing their sense of self. They brag about not sleeping, not stopping, not slowing down. But that's not power. That's fear disguised as ambition. Real power is knowing when to pause. Real power is being in control of your energy, not letting your energy control you. Real power is choosing clarity over chaos, because clarity will take you places force never can. Let me tell you something real. The biggest mistakes I ever made in life didn't come from lack of effort. They came from lack of clarity, moving too fast, pushing too hard, making choices tired instead of making choices aligned. And on the flip side, some of the biggest wins came right after I rested, right after I took a step back, right after I recharged and let myself breathe. Because when you rest, you see the game differently. You notice opportunities that burnout made invisible. You connect dots that stress made blurry. You hear your intuition louder than the noise around you. Rest is the reset button your mind has been begging for. It's the quiet space where new ideas grow. It's where your spirit whispers what your grind has been drowning out. You can't create your best work when your mind is cluttered. You can't see your next step when your vision is foggy. You can't build the life you want if your mental state is falling apart behind the scenes. Clarity is a form of power people don't talk about enough. It saves you time because you're no longer chasing the wrong things. It saves you energy because you're no longer fighting battles that don't matter. It saves you years because every move becomes intentional, not reactive. Clarity turns a good plan into a great one. Clarity turns doubt into direction. Clarity turns survival into strategy. So understand this. The world might glorify exhaustion, but exhaustion never built anything legendary. It's clarity that creates the blueprint. It's clarity that builds the empire, and clarity can't exist without rest. Rest is not a luxury. It's not a break. It's not a distraction from your goals. Rest is part of the assignment. It's part of the discipline. It's part of becoming the strongest, smartest, highest version of yourself. You don't lose anything by resting. You only lose the fog that was slowing you down. You don't fall behind by resting. You align with the pace that was meant for you. You don't get weaker when you rest. You get sharper, calmer, more focused, more dangerous in the best way. Because a well-rested mind moves with purpose. A tired mind moves in panic. And the real marathon runners, the ones built for greatness, they know the difference. They know the power of stepping away so they can return stronger. They know the strength it takes to say, I need clarity more than I need chaos. I need peace more than I need pressure. I need rest so I can rise. That's the secret. Rest isn't the opposite of hustle. Rest is what makes the hustle meaningful. Rest is what keeps you from breaking down on the way to your breakthrough. Rest is what turns scattered effort into focused execution. Rest is what turns dreams into plans and plans into reality. And when you protect your rest, you protect your clarity. And when you protect your clarity, you protect your future. People really got it twisted when it comes to rest. They act like taking a break means you're falling off, like slowing down for a moment is the same as giving up. But the truth is most people quit not because they rested, but because they never did. Burnout kills more dreams than failure ever could. And what's crazy is so many folks never realize it until it's too late. They push themselves at a pace that looks impressive on the outside, but is quietly destroying them on the inside. They're running at 120% every day, trying to keep up with the pressure, the expectations, the image, and they don't even notice they're running themselves straight into a wall. You can't keep sprinting for a lifetime. You can sprint for a day, maybe a week, sometimes even a few months, but a sprint is temporary by design. Life ain't a sprint, it's a long distance run, it's a marathon, and the beautiful thing about the marathon is it's not always about speed. It's about rhythm, it's about endurance, it's about how well you manage your energy. Rest is what keeps the engine from overheating, keeps the wheels from falling off, keeps you steady when the terrain changes. You don't win a marathon by rushing, you win it by lasting. Look at anyone who built something that stood the test of time. Not people who just had a moment, but people whose work still echoes. Kobe Bryant didn't wake up legendary because he trained nonstop. He was legendary because he trained smart. He respected recovery. He respected sleep. He understood that strength builds during rest, not during constant push. Serena Williams didn't dominate every era because she was on the court 24/7. She did it because she listened to her body and allowed herself to recharge. So when she stepped into the arena, she was truly present, truly powerful. Elon Musk didn't create multiple companies because he worked like a machine. He did it because he knew when to step back and refresh his mind so his creativity could breathe. Even Nipsey, his grind was relentless, but it wasn't reckless. He knew when to pause, reflect, recalibrate. The moves he made were intentional, and intention requires energy that burnout can't give you. Consistency, that's the real flex, not the flashy grind, not the burnout hustle, not the I haven't slept in 2 days culture. Anybody can go hard for a moment. Anybody can be motivated for a week. But what separates the ones who build something real from the ones who burn out early is consistency. And consistency is impossible without rest. You cannot sustain greatness on an exhausted soul. You cannot stay disciplined when your mind is drained. You cannot stay hungry when everything in you feels empty. Rest gives your grind longevity. It allows you to wake up every day with something left in the tank. It lets you stack days, weeks, months, years without collapsing halfway through. That's why some people grind for 6 months and disappear, while others grind for 6 years and still look fresh, still look focused, still look driven. The difference isn't talent. The difference is how they manage their energy. The difference is rest. There's this fear people have that if they slow down, they'll fall behind. But the only thing falling behind is the version of you that refuses to understand your limits. Rest isn't you going backward. Rest is you preserving your forward motion. Rest is maintenance. Rest is what allows you to keep showing up even when the road gets rough. If you're constantly running on fumes, the smallest setback will take you out. But when you're rested, physically, mentally, Spiritually, you can carry weight other people break under. You can make decisions other people panic about. You can move with purpose instead of pressure. Think about a car. You can have the most powerful engine in the world, but if you never change the oil, never refill the tank, never get maintenance, that car is going to die on the highway no matter how fast it used to be. And humans are the same way. The grind is your engine, but rest is your maintenance. Rest is your refuel. And without it, you'll stall long before you reach your destination. People admire the highlight reels of successful lives, but they never pay attention to the pauses. They don't see the days behind closed doors where someone had to stop, breathe, recover, reflect, and rebuild. They don't see the times when slowing down helped them speed up later. They don't understand that longevity is built in the shadows, not in the spotlight. Every champion respects the pause because they know it's part of the formula. It's not optional, it's necessary. The reason the marathon metaphor resonates so deeply is because it's real. A marathon is a physical and mental battle. It's not about who starts the fastest, it's about who finishes. And the ones who finish are the ones who don't let their ego dictate their pace. They hydrate, they breathe, they reset when they need to. They stay aware of their body, aware of their energy, aware of the long road ahead. They play the long game. Rest builds your capacity. It expands the amount of effort you can give. It strengthens your spirit so you don't fold when things get tough. When you're rested, you're more patient, more focused, more intentional. You move with clarity instead of chaos. You make decisions that protect your future instead of ones that only satisfy your moment of exhaustion. And that's why rest builds consistency, because it refuels your ability to keep showing up. People think consistency is about discipline, and that's part of it, but consistency is mostly about energy management. You can't show up every day if you're drained. You can't be your best self if your tank is empty. Rest fills that tank. Rest gives you the ability to stay in the game long after the noise dies down, long after the hype fades, long after the world stops paying attention. The ones who make it to the finish line aren't the ones who ran the fastest. They're the ones who respected their energy, protected their pace, and understood that slowing down at the right time is part of winning. Rest isn't stopping, rest is preparing. Rest is building, rest is the reason your consistency becomes unstoppable. That's the real flex. Not how hard you go today, but how long you can keep going for the next 10, 20, 30 years. The marathon is long, and only the ones who embrace rest as part of the journey get to cross that line with their soul still intact. You ever notice how your coldest ideas, your real breakthroughs, never show up when you're stressed out, overwhelmed, or forcing yourself to think? They don't come when you're sitting at your desk staring at the screen, or when you're tired and trying to squeeze something out of a drained mind. They show up in the most random moments. When you're in the shower, when you're on a late night drive with no destination, when you're taking a slow walk with nothing on your mind, or when you're just chilling on a day you didn't plan anything at all. That's not an accident. That's the truth about inspiration. It needs space to land. It needs you to breathe. It needs quiet. It needs rest. Your mind is like a studio. If the studio is crowded with noise, if every corner is stuffed with stress, pressure, deadlines, and overthinking, how can anything new get in? How can a new idea even find a place to sit? You gotta clear the room for creativity to step in. You gotta make space for inspiration to knock. But when you run nonstop, when you grind without pause, when you carry 1,000 thoughts at once, your mind becomes too busy for creativity to survive. When I was working on new music or building new ideas, it was rarely the long studio nights that gave me the breakthrough. Yeah, the work matters, the discipline matters, but the spark, the real spark, came when I stepped away. I'd take a drive down Slauson with no agenda, no pressure, just letting my mind cruise. I'd throw on some old school records that reminded me of where I came from. I'd sit in silence, meditate, let my spirit settle, or I'd take a whole day to rest, not because I was lazy, but because I knew my ideas needed oxygen. And every time I allowed myself that space, a new lane opened up, a new melody popped out of nowhere, a new business angle made sense, a new bar hit me with clarity. Artists know this, writers know this, entrepreneurs know this. Anyone who creates knows that creativity isn't something you can force, it's something you flow with, and flow only happens when your mind is rested, open, and relaxed. When you're stressed, your mind goes into survival mode. You're thinking about problems, deadlines, expectations, fears. There's no room for creativity in survival mode. Creativity is a luxury of a calm mind. You can feel the difference. When you're tired, everything becomes heavy. You stare at a blank page or a dry beat or an empty screen and get frustrated because nothing comes. But when you give yourself rest, suddenly something hits out of nowhere. A line, an idea, a plan, a vision. That's because rest unlocks doors that pressure keeps locked. Rest gives your brain the time it needs to connect dots you didn't even know existed. Science backs this too. Your brain literally enters a more creative state when it's relaxed. That's why ideas show up when you're doing something simple, something routine, something quiet. It's because the brain finally has room to breathe, to wander, to imagine. Creativity doesn't come from grinding your mind into exhaustion. It comes from letting your mind roam free. Think about every time you got stuck on something, maybe a business idea, a project, a problem, a decision. You sit there stressing, thinking hard, or pushing yourself like more effort is the answer. But the harder you push, the tighter your mind gets, and the tighter your mind gets, the fewer ideas come through. Then the moment you walk away and rest, boom, the answer hits. That's because rest is a reset for creativity. It's like wiping off a foggy mirror. You start seeing clearly again. Artists know when they're forcing it. That's why some of the greatest albums came from artists stepping away, living life, giving themselves space to be human. Some of the biggest business innovations were born during vacations or downtime, not during boardroom meetings. Some of the most impactful decisions came when people finally slowed down long enough to listen to their own intuition. If you want better ideas, if you want your creativity to evolve, if you want innovation that actually means something, you got to stop forcing. You got to stop thinking more grind equals more genius. You got to stop believing creativity can be bullied into existence. The truth is, creativity is sensitive. It needs a calm environment to show up. It needs peace to grow. It needs a rested mind to bloom. When you rest, your mind stops fighting and starts flowing. Thoughts become smoother. Connections become clearer, imagination expands, possibilities open up. You stop thinking about what you have to do and start thinking about what you could do. And that's where greatness lies, in the could, in the possibility, in the creativity that only appears when you give yourself space. People misunderstand rest. They think it's inactivity. They think it's doing nothing. But rest is actually one of the most productive things you can do if your life requires creativity, strategy, or vision. Rest is part of the process. Rest is part of the work. Rest feeds your mind the fuel it needs to innovate. Rest is self-investment disguised as stillness. The best ideas aren't born from pressure. They're born from peace. They don't come from squeezing. They come from releasing. That's why you gotta honor your rest. You gotta protect your downtime like it's a business meeting, because it is. That's where ideas meet you. That's where creativity finds you. That's where the next big move gets written before you even realize you're writing it. So stop forcing. Stop pressuring yourself into being creative when you're exhausted. Let yourself breathe. Let yourself live. Let yourself rest. Because when you do, you transform from a machine trying to produce to an artist trying to express. And expression always hits harder than effort. Let yourself flow. That's where the magic is. That's where the innovation hides. And that's where your next breakthrough is waiting, just outside the noise in the space created by rest. Let me tell you something real. Something most people don't want to hear because it sounds too simple to be powerful. Your body is the foundation of everything you're trying to build. Every dream you chase, every move you make, every late night strategy session, every dollar you're stacking, none of it means anything if the body carrying you collapses on the way. We grew up glorifying grind culture like it was a badge of honor. No sleep. I'll rest when I'm dead. Sleep is for the weak. All those loud slogans masking quiet pain. People walk around bragging about how tired they are, how busy they are, how they haven't slept in days like it's something to be proud of. But there's nothing powerful about destroying the one vessel you need to actually finish the race. Science proves this over and over again. Lack of rest isn't something you just feel. It's something that literally rewires your brain in the worst way. Sleep deprivation has the same impact on your mind as being intoxicated. Imagine trying to run a business, raise a family, lead a team, create something meaningful, or even make a big decision while your brain is operating like you're drunk. That's what team no sleep really is. A slow, silent self-destruction that people disguise as ambition. When you don't rest, your anxiety spikes, your body starts producing stress hormones at levels your system isn't built to handle long term. Your immune system weakens, so you get sick more often, your energy drops, your patience disappears, and suddenly small things feel impossible. Your blood pressure rises, your heart takes the hit, your reaction time slows down. Your mood shifts. You start snapping at people you love. You start losing focus. You make impulsive decisions. You forget details. You stop thinking straight. These aren't flaws in your personality. These are symptoms of a body begging you to slow down. Rest protects you from all of that. Not because rest is soft, but because rest is strategy. Rest is intelligence. Rest is leadership. Your health is your real wealth. Before the money, before the recognition, before the opportunities. Because without health, you can't even show up for those opportunities. You can't enjoy the wealth you're chasing. You can't give your family the love and presence they deserve. You can't create your best work because your mind is too drained to think and your spirit is too tired to care. I've seen people hustle themselves into the hospital. I've seen people lose everything they built because their body couldn't keep up with their ego. I've seen people so committed to the grind that they ignored every warning sign until life forced them to stop. And I've also seen the ones who learned to respect their health early. They're the ones who lasted. They're the ones who built empires that didn't collapse. They're the ones whose success didn't cost them their peace. They're the ones who understood you can't pour into your dreams from an empty cup. Your body is your first business. Before you run a company, before you run a brand, before you run a household, you run this body. And if that business is falling apart, everything else follows. You don't need fancy routines or complicated systems to protect it. You need rest, real rest, not scrolling in bed, not taking a break just to feel guilty about it the whole time. I'm talking intentional rest, giving yourself the sleep you need, giving your mind time away from noise, giving your spirit room to breathe. A rested mind thinks smarter. You make better decisions when you're not mentally exhausted. You see things clearer. You avoid problems that tired people walk straight into. Your creativity expands. Your problem solving improves. You start thinking long term instead of reacting to the moment. Rest improves your intelligence. A rested body works faster. It recovers quicker. It moves with strength instead of strain. You perform better in every arena, physically, professionally, emotionally, because you're not dragging yourself through the day. When your body is restored, everything feels lighter. Efficiency increases. Results multiply. Rest improves your execution. A rested soul loves deeper. When you're tired, even love feels heavy. You don't have the patience, the softness, the presence, the energy to connect. But when you're rested, you listen better, you care better, you show up for people with your full self, not the broken pieces. Rest improves your relationships. This is why taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's leadership. It's responsibility. It's wisdom. Leaders don't burn out because people depend on their clarity. Leaders don't run themselves into the ground because their mission needs their strength. Leaders don't ignore their bodies because the future they're building demands longevity. Taking care of yourself is one of the most disciplined, strategic, powerful things you can do. And think about generational wealth, not just money, but impact, knowledge, legacy. You can't build something that lasts for generations if you treat your body like it's disposable. Wealth is meaningless if you don't live long enough to enjoy it, share it, or guide the next generation with it. What good is success if your health is gone by the time you achieve it? What good is the marathon if you can't make it to the finish line? Your health is the real flex. Waking up rested, clear, energized, that's wealth. Being able to work without pain, without exhaustion, that's wealth. Being present with your family, laughing, loving, living without stress controlling you, that's wealth. Building your dreams while still protecting your peace, that's wealth. And rest is how you secure that wealth. Rest doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. It doesn't slow you down. It makes you sustainable. It doesn't take you off your path. It strengthens you for the journey. The grind is temporary, but your body is for life. Protect it, prioritize it, respect it, because the goals you want require a version of you that's strong, healthy, and whole. And that version of you is waiting on the other side of rest. When you really sit with it, you start to understand that purpose ain't loud. It ain't something that chases you down the block or screams for your attention every morning. Purpose speaks in whispers, and the world is so noisy, so demanding, so fast, so relentless that you can't hear it when you're running yourself into the ground. That's why rest is sacred. It slows the world down just enough for you to hear the things you've been too busy to notice. It realigns you back to your center, back to the core of why you even stepped on this path in the first place. Because when you grind without pausing, you start losing the meaning behind the moves. You get caught in routines instead of intention. You might still be achieving things, but the fulfillment fades. The excitement drops. You wake up and your days feel repetitive even if you're doing what you love. That's what burnout really is. It's not just exhaustion, it's disconnection, it's being far away from your why. Rest gives you the space to come home to yourself again. You ever take a day to breathe and suddenly everything clicks again? That's not luck, that's alignment. That's clarity returning because the noise finally backed up enough for truth to step forward. When you rest, you can feel your intuition more clearly. You can hear those thoughts you've been ignoring. You can reconnect with your vision. Not the surface version you repeat to other people, but the deep one, the one that moves you when nobody's watching. I've seen so many people grind so hard they forget the part of them that started the journey. The kid with the dream, the fire they had when they had nothing, the big vision that used to keep them up at night in a good way. Rest brings that version of you back. It brings back the part of you that remembers the mission. Because purpose needs presence, and you can't be present when you're exhausted. Think about a phone. Everybody got one. Everybody uses one daily. As soon as it starts slowing down or glitching, what's the first thing you do? You restart it. Not because it's broken, not because you're giving up on it, but because it needs a reset so everything inside can work the way it's supposed to. That reset, don't delete your apps, don't wipe your messages, don't remove your plans. It just clears the overload so it can run efficiently again. Rest does the same thing for your mind, your spirit, your dreams. People act like rest is a reward. Now, rest is maintenance. Rest is what keeps the mission alive. Rest is what keeps the vision clear. Rest is what protects the passion from turning into pressure. You ever meet someone who used to love what they do, but now they look drained, irritated, disconnected? That's someone who needs rest more than motivation. When you rest, you stop moving from survival mode and start moving from intention again. You stop making rush decisions and start making wise ones. You stop reacting to life and start leading your life, and that's when your purpose becomes louder. That's when God whispers louder than the world. That's when your ideas come fully formed, not half-baked. That's when you feel grateful again instead of overwhelmed. That's when you remember why you started the marathon in the first place, not for approval, not for validation, not for applause, but for impact, for growth, for legacy, for the version of you you're trying to become. And when you return from rest, you come back different. People will feel it. The energy shifts. The execution levels up. The confidence strengthens. The vision sharpens. You walk differently because now your steps are aligned with purpose again, not pressure. Now your moves come from clarity, not chaos. Now your decisions reflect where you're headed, not what you're running from. Rest ain't weakness. Rest is strategy. Rest is how you stay connected to what matters most. Rest is how you protect the dream, protect the mission, protect the future. Because at the end of the day, what you're building ain't just a project, it's a legacy. And a legacy needs someone who's fully present, fully aware, fully aligned, not someone who's so drained they can't remember why they started. Take the time to pause. Take the time to breathe. Take the time to reset. Because every time you rest, you're not stepping away from your purpose. You're stepping deeper into it. You're coming back to your why with more strength, more clarity, more intention than ever. And that's what keeps the marathon going. At the end of the day, rest ain't the enemy of ambition. It's the foundation of it. You're not meant to run nonstop. You're meant to rise, recover, and rise again. The marathon continues because the runner has the strength to continue it. Rest is part of the hustle. Rest is part of the grind. Rest is part of your greatness. Respect your energy, honor your body, protect your mind, guard your spirit, and remember, when you choose rest, you choose longevity, you choose clarity, you choose alignment, you choose yourself. The secret power of rest is the reason you'll still be standing long after everyone who tried to outwork you burned themselves out. This is the marathon, and the marathon ain't just how far you run, it's how well you recover.